Hey, everybody. You're about to hear a synopsis of the movie Fear of Raine. Enjoy. Raine runs away from her pursuer in terror, but the hooded man catches up with her and ties her hands and feet and throws her into a shallow grave. The girl managed to get out of the ground, but immediately found herself in the hospital, and the medical staff strapped her to a bed. Soon the sedative took effect and Raine passed out. The girl has schizophrenia with frequent psychotic episodes, and the doctor advised her parents to put their daughter in a psychiatric hospital. Dr. Pangloss wants to find out what triggered the last attack. Nothing special happened that day, but the problem is that Raine refuses to take the prescribed pills. Because of the medication, the young artist can't paint, but the girl must realize that one more attack will send her to compulsory treatment. Raine came home. Her neighbor, her teacher Miss McConnell, was working on the lawn. Raine entered her room cautiously, remembering how she'd trashed it and injured herself when she'd run from the ghostly maniac. There was a piece of her fingernail sticking out of the wall. The girl was scared because she couldn't control her mind. After a minute, she imagines maggots in her hand. She tries to return to normal life, draws a portrait of her mother, and takes medicine. At school, the girl dropped the pills in front of the other students. In class, Raine noticed a curly-haired boy who sat at the last desk. In the cafeteria, the girls began to make fun of Raine, calling her Carrie and saying that she was only doing it to get attention. Outside, this guy Caleb approached her and Raine wondered if other people could see him. Caleb showed her a card trick and wondered where his classmate had been all this time. He's new himself, and today was the first time he'd seen her. Caleb suggested they meet somewhere, but Rye isn't in the mood for a relationship. At the store, the intimidating teacher Ms. McConnell looms over Raine again with 2 bottles of wine. Afterward, a child in red appeared in front of Raine for a moment and then disappeared. The girl started to take all the pills the doctor prescribed. Michelle asks her daughter not to close the door to the room. Raine complains that it is difficult for her at school. Even Alex's best friend now tells her friends scary stories about her. Whatever, it'll give her more time to draw. But unlike Alexa, Caleb is always happy to talk to Raine. They left school in his leaky car. The windshield wipers don't work, so the students had to pull over and wait for the rain to stop. The voices in Raine's head demanding she run away from here, run before it's too late, the radio keeps telling her to. Caleb noticed that something was wrong with the girl. Maybe the rain was scaring her. When the downpour was over, Caleb was finally able to drive his classmate home. Now Raine rehearses how she's going to tell him about her illness. At night, she sees a neighbor teacher in the attic grabbing a little girl. Raine told her parents, who came running to her scream. Her father looked up in the attic and there was no one there. Miss McConnell had never even had children, and yet John promised his daughter that tomorrow they would go to the neighbor's house and check it out. Raine took him there first thing in the morning, and the woman welcomed the guests. John tells her that Raine heard a baby screaming and they went to make sure everything was okay. Raine insists that the neighbor is hiding the baby in the attic. Ms. McConnell takes the guests there, as she has an impressive collection of dolls in the attic. The girl looked around the room, but she could not find anything suspicious. At home, Raine fell into hysterics because her father does not believe her, and after all, there could have been a child hurt. John forbade his daughter to go near the house of their neighbor, otherwise the authorities put her in a mental hospital. But the child does not get out of Raine's head, and she decides to look at pictures of girls who disappeared in her state. However, the results were too much. At a meeting with a psychologist, the girl complains that she doesn't want to take so many medications. But if she goes into the hospital, she'll be forced to take them. Raine was hit again. She saw herself in a picture, and a doppelganger who asked to get her out of here. When Raine got home, she decided to please her mom with a delicious dinner. In the dining room, Caleb brags that he's not on social media, and he doesn't even use his cell phone. Raine feels like everyone around her is whispering about her. The girl wanted to run away, but ran into Ms. McConnell. Raine is paranoid. When she sees the cops, she thinks they're after her. Raine tells Caleb about the girl in the attic and how no one believes her, that the neighbor is a maniac. She needed some evidence and Caleb agreed to help her classmate. They were supposed to meet at the school after school, but for some reason the young man showed up only when she was alone. The conspirators stopped at the suspect's house. They got inside and started searching for the girl. Raine discovered that the door to the attic had a new lock on it, and it needed something to open it. Suddenly the teacher came home early and the couple had to hide. They ran out of the house and hid behind a car. At home, John remembers how happy their family was when their daughter was little. When Raine was taking a shower, she thought the bathtub was filled with blood, but she convinced herself that it wasn't like that. Her mom was waiting for her in the room and asked when her daughter would introduce her to Caleb. The girl suspects that her mom doubts that Caleb is real. Raine isn't so sure either. Caleb is the only friend who doesn't hurt her. Michelle, however, suggests that her daughter talk to her if she's worried about anything, because she's definitely real. John looked at his daughter talking and was very upset. The next day, Raine suggested that her friend skip school again and break into her neighbor's house. But the guy talked her into doing something more normal, like eating ice cream and going to the aquarium. Caleb decided to also search for the missing girl using the internet. Raine looked at the faces of the children until she finally recognized the girl she saw in the attic. Raine wanted to call Malia's parents right away to let them know they had found their daughter. In the hallway, she ran into her former best friend, who was in hysterics because her parents refused to pay for her college. Caleb finally found out about her friend's mental health problems, but he wasn't embarrassed. He asked for details about the condition. Raine doesn't have a split personality, but she does hear voices that say horrible things. She doesn't know when she can believe her eyes and ears. Raine came home in a good mood, but she doesn't like the fact that her mom doesn't go out or talk to anyone all day long. John gave his daughter a surprise. He made repairs to her room after the seizure. Raine had a dream in which she saw herself as a little girl, running to the police station and calling for her mom. That's when she heard Michelle crying. A woman was sitting on the floor looking at her baby pictures. In class, Caleb had made a joke about Ms. McConnell, but no one had reacted to his joke. A voice in Raine's head began whispering that the guy was unreal, no Caleb existed. Raine started avoiding her friend, and that's when he climbed into her room through the window in the evening. Caleb is too perfect and people like that don't exist. The guy admits he likes Raine. Then they hear a child scream, but they can't call the police in case it was a cat, and then Raine will definitely fly to the hospital. The teens decide to sneak into the neighbor's house again. Caleb accidentally broke a window in the garage. The teacher heard it and called the police. This is too much. Today in class, Raine drew a picture of the teacher and the kidnapped child. Antics like this could cost her her career. If John doesn't send her daughter to the clinic, she'll file a complaint. The man was angry with Raine. According to the neighbor's statement, she had only seen her. There was no Caleb with her. John made the decision to put his daughter in the hospital. He grabbed the girl and roughly pushed the pills into her mouth. Then she popped half the jar into her mouth. The father became angry and punched Raine in the face. The man immediately apologized and cried. At school, Caleb admitted that he was now worried about the baby too. In the evening, Raine again saw the girl in her neighbor's arms, and she and her friend were planning a new outing. They need to proceed without a piece of work, because McConnell already knows what she knows and can now kill the girl. Caleb opens the closet and is stunned by the sheer amount of pills his friend is taking. The guy got bolder and kissed Raine on the lips. At that moment, Mom came out. She saw Caleb and made sure he was real. But the guy got upset for some reason and wanted to leave the house. He didn't answer any more messages, and Caleb wasn't at school either. Could it be that the voices in her head were right and the boy didn't exist? In the hallway, Raine was startled by Ms. McConnell. And on the ceiling she saw another hallucination. The girl decided that urgently must meet with a psychologist, but the doctor was not there. The voices in her head grew louder and louder. Raine came to the cemetery. The terrible visions haunted her there too. Finally, the girl returned home. Raine is on the verge of a breakdown. A reflection speaks to her from the mirror. Raine is delirious. Michelle tries to calm her daughter down, but the girl won't listen to her. It's her fault for what's happening to her now. Her father kicked in the door and told Raine that Mom isn't here. She passed away 3 years ago. Jack just played along with his daughter sometimes because he didn't know how to react when she started seeing Michelle. Apparently that's why Caleb ran away then, because Raine started talking to herself. The girl panicked. Suddenly he was now trying to trick her. Raine ran out of the house when her father started calling for an ambulance. She saw a neighbor on the street and told her that Malia was already dead. Raine sneaks back into her house and takes a knife from the kitchen. "Help her," said a voice in her head. Finally, Raine saw the girl, but not Malia, but her little self. That's when Raine remembers finding her mom. The woman says there is no Malia, but the girl is sure she only made up her mother, and she found a colored pencil on the floor. Ms. McConnell returned home and turned the music up loud. This gave Raine an opportunity to stealthily take the keys from the living room and open the lock on the basement door. The girl fell down the stairs, was grave for a second, and regained consciousness. Raine knelt down and found Malia, who was locked in a cage. Just like that, the neighbor had added a living doll to her collection. The girl freed the captive. At the same time, McConnell saw that the keys were missing and with a club went down to the basement. She saw a neighbor with a girl in a cage and reached down to help Raine out. She's not real. The McConnell says there's no one else here, but she got a fist to the stomach in return. Raine orders Malia to run away and grabs a knife. The woman convinces Raine that she'll help her. She knows what it's like to be in a mental hospital and wouldn't wish it on anyone. Suddenly, Caleb enters the garage and grabs the maniac by the hair. McConnell wrestled the kid and put her legs around his throat. But the guy continued to resist. He yells for Raine to save the child. The daughter was met on the doorstep by John. "She's real," the man marveled, and took the baby in his arms. But to go back for Caleb he does not allow, because he does not exist. However, another discovery awaited John. Caleb is also real. The man is proud of his heroine's daughter. Finally, Raine can go on a date with Caleb and still be sure that he is not her fantasy. The pills are starting to help, and Raine can now tell the difference between reality and fiction. At the cemetery, she told her father that she'd stopped seeing her mother, and when she got home, she said she was ready to move into her room, where her mother was waiting for her.